This is Synopsis, a series of conversations run in the framework of Abeceda Institute. My name is Nija Zupans, and with me today is Andrzej Ojcianasz. Welcome,
Yes.
and please, a couple of words of introduction.
Hello. I'm very grateful for the invitation. It's an honor for me. My name is Andrzej Ojcianasz. I am a Polish composer, born in Krakow, in Kraków, in the southern Poland. And right now I am a Swiss Excellence Government Scholarship holder in Switzerland, in Zurich, and I'm studying music composition at the Zurich University of Arts. So in short, that's what I can say about me.
So since the subject of this conversation is compositional practice, we can start with, if you had to make a short presentation for someone that never heard of you or of your music, how could you set the frame for this? What do you conceive of your compositional practice?
Okay. Well, I would say for me, composition and being a composer is a journey, and I have that feeling, that view, that it's just a beginning. So probably to what I am attached right now, or what is inspiring for me, it can and probably it will change in the next years. I hope so, because it will be also a sign of development. But when I trying to make some kind of self-analysis of to reflect my own music and what I'm doing, what I'm trying to write, I would say that there are some specific points that could be emphasized, and that could specify my music. And well, my background is strongly attached to the let's say Krakow Compositions School of Krakow Composition School, let's say. So basically, kind of attachment, kind of thinking established by creators from the late 19th century, and which were strongly developed, especially by Krzysztof Penderecki, which is after whom my first school, when I received a bachelor's degree, is named. So I would say some kind of exploration of the sound, for sure. Technical, high level of technical description, let's say, writing, and also that music is rooted in the tradition. And of course, it's not like direct representation of the traditional music, of the classical, let's say classical or early music, but it is well known, and it in some way it influences the way of thinking today. So that would say, I would say that that's my academic background, and
High
very
level technical description. What do you refer to?
So very, how to say, I would say that my school is quite strongly attached to notation and to the high level of that aspect of composition, to be quite clear and to let's say user friendly, which I mean player friendly, yes. So easy to understand and in a way economical for musical expression, some kind of idea how to write something, but at the same time to be very easy to read and to understand by the player. Yeah, that's what I meant. And I would go forward. So going back to my self-reflection, I would say another thing is my background in computer science. I was a programmer for years, and that's my first educational and professional background. So in a way, I'm very open to use some digital tools and use computer in general. At the same time, I would say that I'm not trying on, or maybe I'm not focused on creating electronic or computer music in general. What is much more interesting for me is acoustic music and acoustic possibilities of the instruments. So computer tools are only for creative process, which could be used for the experiments, to check something, to analyze something, but not as a final product, let's say. Yeah, so I would say that the another route, and the third route, I would say that I started my music with my music education, my music background with singing, and that's a very important field for myself, for me. So everything related to the vocal music, to the choral music. Maybe I do not represent it directly, but way of thinking about counterpoint writing, I think it shows and hides all the time in my music. So I would say that's the third route. And of course, I guess there are many others. So all the experiences I've got from joining many master classes, from meetings with many, established and important composers. Everything influenced me in a way, and yeah, I would say that this holistic field is the fourth route.
So if we took it to a more particular level now, how would you describe or go for describing how you approach composing a new composition? What is it that is important to you, and what is it that you see, let's say, that is present in most of your compositions, if there's some such thing, and needs to be a part of this new composition? You can choose that this you're working on right now, or just a hypothetical piece.
Sure. Well, of course, it really depends. It really depends of the topic, or maybe it's strongly connected with the ensemble, the set of instruments for whom I'm writing, and usually the basic idea and the final goal, it's I'm trying, usually I try to find the answer for the question, what kind of music I would like to hear. and also that, let's say, a decision to limit the possibilities, to focus on one aspect of the music and explore it deeply. So yes, I would say 2 points: setting a goal, a final goal to achieve, and the other one is to set the limits, set a frame, and of course, during the process, they could change a bit or completely, but I would say that it's very helpful to make some limits, because nowadays we can do whatever we want, and sometimes it's not helpful. On the other hand, I would say, what I'm finding, what I found from my experiences, it's to plan the form well. I would say that's the most hard, not easy thing to do, to plan how the music should develop, where are the focal points of the composition, where are the changes, like how the listener will perceive the time flow. And I would say, it's very easy to write a lot of let's say black signs on the paper and on the score, but that's not the music for me. The music is the musical piece is something which is created with a purpose and with a specific plan, and there should be the order which shape the music in time period. So yes, those are two fields for me when I'm looking first. And sometimes it's a surprise for me. I could say that the pieces I compose and which I really like, or let's say I'm never 100% satisfied with my music. Yes, but where the pieces I'm finding interesting, or let's say interesting is a good word. Usually the process was always a bit different. It wasn't like, okay, I'm a factory, I'm a music factory, so I just sit down and write another, I don't know, 2, 3, 10 minutes of music. It was a process of also struggling, of removing things, of experiments, a lot of sketches. So I would say that that kind of ability to reject, to use rubber, to use delete key on your computer also is very important to limit, to remove what is unnecessary for composition. And and the other thing I'm reflecting that right now, I would say to disconnect from the world outside. We are living in the highly how to say, informatized society. There are many wonderful tools, computer tools, we can communicate immediately with each other. But I think we are losing connection with ourselves. And when you want to create something meaningful, it should be meaningful for you. And the only way to find what is it is to listen to yourself, and you need to disconnect from the world outside if you really want to hear it. So yes, another field I would say is to be self-conscious about what is going on and around you and also inside you, and maybe even more important, what is going on inside you. And yeah, to find something, find a motivation, find a goal inside you, not outside you. Yes.
Yeah, it's curious also that you come to mention by yourself the distinction of what is music and what is everything else. Um, Mentioning purpose and order and form there. Is there also a way in which you conceive of the aesthetic aspect of your composition?
Well, that's a
And
good
by the
question.
way, I would think you're a string player by what I listened to. You never played string instruments.
Well, the only string instrument I tried to learn how to play violin. I have a violin, but I'm not a violin player for sure. It was just how to say an episode in my life, a few months of very hard trying to learn something.
Trills. Okay, trying.
Yeah, and also, well, I play guitar a bit, but I'm not a, professional guitar player. It's more about, this kind of folk traditional songs and, singing near the fireplace. That's my background. But of course, yes, I joined, let's say, school. I joined classical guitar classes for 1 or 2 years when I was in my primary school. So I guess I touched a bit, of classical music during those times. But going back to string instruments, yes, I learned. I've chosen when I was studying, like learning singing in my musical high school, secondary musical school. Like System in Poland is, there are artistic schools. So I joined artistic school in the field of singing, and I decided to join a class of folk fiddles, Polish folk fiddles. Maybe you heard of them, maybe not. So basically, those are quite interesting instruments. There are two well known, and for years they were forgotten. But Maria Pomianowska, a Polish, I think she was cellist, but I'm not sure. Right now, she's very specialized in many folk fiddles, which are played, with a nail technique. So it's a bit different. To shorten the string, you are using your nails instead of your fingers. So you are shortening the string from the side, not from the top. So I played for 2 years on those instruments. One is fiddle from Płock, and the second one is Suka fiddle from Bilgoraj. Both are the places in Poland, and yes, they are connected with those few those places, but the instruments are very old. They are from early medieval times, but you know,
Quite a
development
tradition
of
then.
yes, but they were not used. Like they were, how to say, flushed away by violin and cello and everything. But right now they are re-established again. They are rebuilt, reconstructed. So in the field of strings player playing is that's my background. But going back to your first question about the aesthetic, um, mm, well, I would say what is fascinating for me is how the sound can develop, and how is developed through the time period, and you know, of this spectral densities, this kind of, you know, micro changes of the harmonics and small noises around. That what it's so inspiring for me, and you know, I'm completely sucked by it. And I would say that strings instruments, string instruments are very good to play with that aspect of music. So I wouldn't say that, you know, because you can achieve really long, uh, you know, sounds without any breaks in the middle. You can play with, you know, you can change it on the fly. You don't have to breathe, for example, yes. And the sound is continuous. It's not a percussive, like it can be used as percussive instrument also, but it's constant. Yes, it's something. Yes, I should think more about it. But it's something unique for the string instrument. So I think because of my fascinations, I just chosen those instruments. And also, I would say that, you know, in Poland, strings players are very good. There are many very good schools, you know, and it's easy to find the players which would like to play some new string piece for strings. So yeah, so you know, also a bit of being practical, pragmatic. That's the reason. Um, but going back to the aesthetic, sorry for the digression. Um, well, yes, I would say it came from this fascination about this spectral aspect, uh, and how the sound can be developed. Yes, through time, through the time flow of time in you know, limited time period. So that's the reason why it sounds like this, I think.
When I was listening to one of I think it was for string chamber orchestra, your piece for string, or maybe it was a string quartet.
Okay.
I noticed that yeah, it was the string quartet. I noticed that when I was disturbed a couple minutes into the piece, I had to go from the beginning to again build that unknown, I don't know how to call it, again, as well as something perhaps that I can notice when I let's say practice a piece, and and it's building and building and building, and then I have to clear something up because it's still practice, and it drops that thing that I'm now trying to describe.
You can try to say it in Slovakian. Maybe I could be able to understand.
I also don't have a term for it in Slovenian, so I don't know.
Oh, okay. I'm
But,
sorry, Slovenian, yes.
no, it's okay. It's what I wanted to perhaps bring up is, do you consider that as well? Because you were now speaking about the aesthetical aspect and development of sound in time. So yes, there are things that mechanically, physically you change in production of sound that influence, but then there's also that subjective listener's perspective of building the sound, development in sound. That's so it's like this experience of on a very musical level, very abstract, difficult to describe. Is this also something that you, and I just bring it up because I noticed this in last couple of days when practicing, when being in music. Is that something, and specifically on your composition, is that something you also consider? You were mentioning you actually think of what you would like to hear and what is interesting for you. Do you think of this aspect also when you do that?
Sure. I would say sure. You know, there are two composers, like there are many composers from whom I learned a lot, but there are two of them which I really like, and I also I have a huge respect. Toshio Hosokawa and also Kaiya Sariaho, and you know that they are both different, but I would say the common thing for both of them is really well established aesthetic. So they have their own voice. You can hear, like, after hearing about, maybe not always, but you know, 10 seconds of the music, and you know, yes, that's the composer. Yes, that's Kaiya or that's Toshio, and they have some kind of watermark in their music. And I mention them because I think they are also so advanced in creating development of perception. And you know, when you attack the listener with a lot of sound, you cannot do it all the time. And what is much more interesting for me, you know, to create a world which can be so interesting that you have to start, you know, from the beginning. You have to tune your perception, and then you present, you know, small details and more details and more details. And you know, there is kind of, how to say, a curve, arc, and you know, you can lead somebody into the point. Yes. And also from my, you know, the other aspect is, okay, yes, we are living in this over informated, let's say, I don't know is it the proper word, but in over informated world, in over informated society. And I also would like to propose, that's maybe my personal motivation. Okay, get rid of it for a moment. Yes, let's focus on one thing. Let's be, how to say, focus, conscient about one aspect of the world. Let's try to find some kind of beauty which is not visible because we are so distracted all the time. And yes, I'm finding that beautiful. And going back to the question of the development, yes, that was the question. I'm not sure right now. I think it's also natural, when you, I don't know, that's photography is a good example, especially landscape or, the architectural photography. So of course, sometimes when you see a panorama of the city, for example, yes, you can make a wonderful shot, but sometimes you're just overwhelmed by the amount of details, because there are many buildings. The good photography of the city's panorama is to find find the order inside the frame, to select some fragment of the reality and put everything in the place, or maybe not even put, or just find a good perspective for it. Yes, to find a dominating point, and the others which are the, let's say, less important but also important because they are there. The same applies for I don't know, for the nature landscapes. Yes, it's not easy to take a very good nature photo. You have to, let's say, compose a frame, of the photography, of the picture, and it applies in the same way. So you have to find some interesting point, focus on it, and then arrange, or maybe not arrange, but find proportions for the other aspects. And in a way, I think it also applies for the composition. Yes.
Yeah. So if I understand correct, you have, once you start speaking, let's say, borrowing from a medium that is more concrete, quite a structured idea of what it is that you are doing, also also in terms of what is in sound a center, and what is in sound the context to that center, perhaps things that then complement that. So yeah, curious, and it makes a lot of sense also. Yeah.
I use that metaphor just to maybe explain. I'm trying to explain it to myself. I wouldn't say that I'm trying to reproduce photography or paintings, but in a way, yes, it also inspires me. I think from this psychological Gestalt perspective, the same rule applies to hearing and to seeing in a way. And of course, there are also many different ones, but for this kind, how to say, artistic perception experience, I think they are quite similar.
Yeah. So you see, this is a possibility that there's a universal way of perceiving music sound.
You mean, do I agree, or
do you think that's possible? What do you think about that? Perhaps just tackling a little bit the question of universality in music, also from the starting point of being in a time where so many, at least in some sense, different types of composition are
Mm-hmm.
and especially also from the starting point that we see what was, for those and other reasons, preserved as
Mm-hmm.
musical canon. What perhaps this is a question of outlook. How do you see this? Do you see there is a possibility that uh,
Mm-hmm.
in general there will be most humans present some way type of listening? Which,
Mm-hmm.
for example,
Okay.
describe now that there's that that to which to let's say to this type of listening, the way that you described working with sound is will feel at home.
Mm-hmm. Sure. Okay, that's a great question.
And
I feel unprepared,
no,
but
no, words
uh,
out
let's
loud.
try to let's try to say something. Well, yes, we have many different traditions nowadays. Yes, and you can analyze them in many different ways all around the world. I would say what is very interesting for me, it's kind of phenomena that uh, major of the tradition. Of course, there are exceptions, of course, but the most of the traditions are based are singing traditions. Yes, and from the singing, just many cultures just tried to create another ones. Yes, rhythmic percussive instruments, string instruments, strings, both instruments, but in a way that the roots for almost not all of them, but almost all of the cultures, human cultures, are rooted in singing. So I would say maybe that's the answer. How the sound could be universal. I think, well, when it comes from speech, when it's like extension of the speech, uh, which and that's the way how the singing can be perceived. It will be universal, as at least in the culture
Yeah.
when it from when it comes from. And also I think the other aspect is the physicality of the singing. So, and I don't mean the biological technical aspects, but more about the analyzing the physicality of the sound which is produced by singing. So I think when you get inside, you can find very interesting aspects, and the harmonics, the harmonic spectrum, and I think that's a great source to make a research. But you know, for example, Chopin phenomenon. Hey, I will be, I will go back to Chopin because I'm
You can
Polish.
do it.
Yeah, no, it's extremely interesting. Like, why is it so popular in Asia? Yes, in China, in Japan especially.
Right.
Like, you know, major of works of Chopin are, of course, there are French influences, but they are, directly connected to Polish folk music.
Yeah.
Directly. And yeah, I think that's the major argument to say that Chopin was more Polish than French composer. But of course, the way how he used ornaments, the harmonies, this kind of sensibility Yes, of course, there are many French influences also. Um, but, you know, it's a question for me. Like, also a question of, yes, critical theory applied to the culture development. Yes, Poland never colonized Japan, let's say, and for some reason, the music became extremely popular there.
Right.
Yeah, so of one composer, and yes, in Poland, in Krakow, I remember there are many students from Asia, which came to Poland because they want to study, in the Chopin's country,
Right.
which is not anymore like in the 18th century or 19th century, but yes, that was the idea for them to go to Poland, and in some way they can understand that music. Yes, it's universal. It's universal even when it's so complex. Like for example, from the classical harmony point of view. Yes, he was really breaking the rules or maybe stretching them um, to the limits. Like many times, he also made some very weird stuff, which sound amazing. Yes, and it you cannot really, like, you can try, of course, and you always find some rules which can be applied to it, but it was you know um, on the edge on the edge of the being correct, and yes, and still, yes, it is understandable for sure in the whole Europe, in the whole Europe, in this European cultures, also when Anglo-Saxon world, Americas, and but of course it is also understandable in many different cultures. Yes, and it's accepted, and let's say um, inspiring also. Yes, for people to move to the culture, to the country that they don't know. That's, for me, it's a huge impact. On the other hand, yes, going back, finding a different example. There are some musical traditions which are very hard to understand for me. And I can see complexity and craft behind, and a richness of tradition behind, and that they are national treasures of the cultures from which they come from. But at the same time, I cannot understand it. I cannot enjoy in 100%. I can perceive it as something interesting, something unique, something original. But I cannot be sucked inside by it. And I don't know the answer why, but I can see that something is not understandable by me. Maybe sometimes it's because of the language when it applies to singing music in different cultures. Maybe when I would understand the language, the whole culture, it would be much more easier for me. Or maybe I will understand it immediately. But yes, there are, counter examples also, yes, that some of music is not very universal. It's very local, I would say. Like from my perspective, yes, I don't want to make some statements which can be
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
perceived in the wrong way. And one more thing,
Yeah.
I think, as far as I remember, a few years ago, I think it was in 2020 or something like this, some research group from the physics department at the Jagiellonian University in Krakow. They made some experiments creating, artificial neurons. I don't know the word in English, but I mean this, very, very small cells, which is used by neural system to communicate with the whole body. Synapses, yes, synapses. Thank you. And they made artificial synapses, and they played with, sending signals, which were organized in a harmonic way and not harmonic way. I don't remember the specific. I can send the link to the presentation and the whole paper. And what was very interesting that even our neural system reacts to harmonic and non-harmonic events, and that's something which is not very how to say, there are not many researchers in the field of that, but I think that there is an answer, and that there is a question and the answer for the phenomenon of creating a tension and releasing the tension. Like, why is it so attached to music, and why do we have that kind of emotional reaction? I think it's inside our bodies, and we don't know yet how do we react.
If we listen to music.
Yes, but it's not only about our reaction, but it's kind of physicality. So when you also send a signal for the synapses, it would also generate some electricity or something which is organized in in helpful or not helpful way for the whole system. So yes, I'm finding that maybe that should be more research in that field, but even that research, that example inspires me so much and shows something that maybe in the future somebody will say more about that. We will learn something new. Yes, how to compose music better from the from our perspective, but also from our neural system perspective, how to play well with our neural system.
Yeah, it's a very fascinating connection, just straight to the neural system. Since you were mentioning now the future, how do you see your practice in the future? What are your goals for on a more macro level? How do you think of that?
I don't know. I would like to continue writing music. Well, it's a way of this. It's a decision, yes, because you can be more attached to the university area. I can, yes, I'm really thinking about doing a PhD. I will apply to many places because it's my last year of my studies. But also I know some composers who are doing it, it's not, music is not a full-time job for them. They are doing it after hours. And for many reasons, and it was like this in the history of music for sure, many composers were doing something else and compose music as a hobby, and they created wonderful works. Yes, and I have to distinct because in the field of music, yes, there are some aspects I would like to explore in my next works, and I'm also facing this tabula rasa effect. So maybe not tabula rasa, but yes, I'm facing that the page is empty. Yes, the paper sheet is empty, and I have to fill it with my ideas, and I don't know where it will lead me, but I hope it will be something interesting and something also interesting for the listeners of my music. The other aspect is, yes, I have to decide. Yes, would I like to be an academic teacher? I had some experiences, to prepare somebody for the composition entry exams, and they were quite successful. I was also proud and happy of them. So yes, I'm finding that it could be very nice for me also, but that's not an easy way. Yes, you also can be distracted by the institution and many other duties. On the other hand, you are in the environment. You can meet new people. There could be many inspiring cooperations with the other musicians, players, conductors. So that's a big advantage for being a composer and being a composition teacher. Yes, so far I'm in Switzerland, and I don't know when I will land in next 7 months. So it's a bit stressful for me, but it's also an adventure. Yes, a journey.
And what about the next composition that you're working with, or compositions? What is what is on the table at the moment, if you can speak to that?
Okay, yes, this next 6 months will be completely crazy for me. I don't know, like it's a great gift, let's say, from the from many different people, from many commissions, let's say. Well, I finished, I think a few days ago, I finished a piece for Neue Vokalisten, Neue Solo Vokalisten Stuttgart Ensemble. So it will be premiered in April. I'm finishing right now a piece for bass flute and electronics, and it will be premiered in February next month in Basel and in Zurich. Yes, I'm writing. I was selected as by Swiss On Scene program to write a new piece for chamber ensemble. So I will start it in next days. I'm writing a piece for Arkansas ensemble from my school, and the premiere will be in May. And yes, there are also other opportunities which I am not sure that I will be able to handle. Yes, but yes, I'm quite active right now, and I'm quite stressed out of it. Yes.
Well, looking forward to hearing that as well.
Thank you.
Since I'm assuming it will be somewhere out in the web.
Yes, I will place it on internet.
Yes.
Yes.
Great. So since we are approaching the conclusion, I will ask you, like I ask every guest, for 2 brief messages one for anyone that is aspiring to begin or a beginner composer, and the other one for anyone that will perhaps see this and give a listening to your music.
Okay. To those who would like to start, start now. Start right now. It's the best time to start right now, and be patient. Be hardworking. And listen to yourself and also to the others. But if you really want to be a composer, don't give up. When you fail, when something will happen around you, it's a journey. Sometimes it's simpler, sometimes it's hard. Sometimes you have to stop for a while to rest, to to find another approach to continue your travel. And yes, that's the answers. Maybe also, try to talk with people, try to hear them, try to hear the music, try to understand it, try to understand the other people. Composing is also about internal listening. So you have to be able to listen to the music, but I think also to the others. I think that's very good ability. Yeah. And the second question was to my listeners, yes, or to the viewers of this conversation. I don't know. Thank you for your time. I hope you are not bored out of it. And well, when you want to listen to my music, try to calm down yourselves first. Try to forget about everything around. Yes, try to listen to the details. Try to hear yourself, and try to listen to my music also.
Andrzej, thank you very much for your time and sharing.
Thank you, Nisha.